It is now my pleasure to welcome a man who is a big supporter of the Western Sydney Leadership Dialogue and heads up our dinner partner, Western Sydney University. Professor Barney Glover is making his way to the stage now. He's the Vice-Chancellor and President of WSU. Barney Glover is a mathematician and he's certainly done his numbers on Western Sydney. 40,000 plus students, 10 campuses and a huge corpus now built up from a canny investment strategy. He is now, however, much more than a maths whiz, academic and property developer. He's shown us in recent years that he's also a passionate advocate, a polished performer, a collaborative partner and a true leader. So to introduce our special guest speaker, please welcome Western Sydney University Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Barney Glover.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's 11 campuses, just to correct the record there. But anyway, who's counting? It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be here. This is an extraordinary event tonight. So congratulations, Chris and the team from the Dialogue. Wonderful to see so many people here yet again this year. Just tells us so much about Western Sydney and what's happening. I'd also like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and to pay my respects to elders past and present. Again, thank you to Chris and the Dialogue for another great Boomtown event. There's no question this forum has contributed and will continue tomorrow to contribute to the remarkable shift in Western Sydney's narrative in recent years. However, at the risk of offending some of you, unfortunately, I have to start with a complaint. And the state government's infrastructure agenda, which we've heard a lot about today, has completely upended my diary. Since the completion of WestConnex Stage 1, I'm literally arriving at my Sydney-based meetings a full 25 minutes early on a regular basis. And it's incredibly annoying. I used to get through a lot of telephone calls and other business on the congested run eastwards with WestConnex. I'm there before I know it, so Premier will have to take that up later. I'm terribly disappointed. A little earlier this evening we heard about WestConnex, about Blacktown Hospital, about the stadium, about Norwest Metro and about the wonderful William Inglis Hotel in Liverpool, in Warwick Farm. And as I was listening to those presentations, I was thinking, well, Western Sydney University actually activates all of that in a whole range of ways. Our students who do a wonderful and make a wonderful contribution to the hospital. It's our teaching hospital and we're very proud of it. The difference WestConnex and the tunnel is making to our staff moving from Western Sydney into the city and back again. Of course, our support for the Wanderers and the stadium. The difference the Metro is making to Norwest and the movement of our staff and students. We are very much activating this massive infrastructure in Western Sydney. So Premier, you are to be congratulated for what is a truly transformative piece of infrastructure. And it's not simply, of course, a matter of traffic flow. It's about that most precious commodity of all, for all of us, time. For Western Sydney residents, nothing is more important. Less time on the road means more time for family and for community. Less time stuck in traffic means more time spent productively. The Sydney Metro West promises similar outcomes. Like the Metro Northwest, it should be the linchpin in unlocking the true 30-minute city, the livable city that we hear so much about. And I do say should be, not because I doubt it will be realised, rather because I want to emphasise the urgency we need to adopt with projects like the Metro. Earlier this year, with our colleagues at the University of Sydney, we released a report on G-pop, not to be mistaken for a study on a subgenre of Korean pop music. The G-pop paper focused on the extraordinary opportunity presented across Greater Parramatta and the Olympic Peninsula. This area is the spine of the region the Greater Sydney Commission dubbed the Central River City. The report that Michael Spence and I championed highlighted just how catalytic the metro and light rail projects could be. It all depends on the detail. Ensuring we link all of the key G-pop sites will be a critical part of that. That means stops at Westmead, Parramatta, Sydney Olympic Park and Rydalmere. Connecting these sites alone will effectively create a network of over 50,000 university students and world's best researchers, 50,000. It will combine health, education and medical infrastructure of a scale without peer in Australia. That's GPOP. That's the central city. The potential is abundantly clear. Since 2011, there's been a 7.1% increase in the proportion of tertiary qualification holders residing in the GPOP region. 7.1% increase. And that's double the rate of growth across New South Wales and the rest of Sydney. And that's in GPOP, in our central river city. So the evidence is in. Our state's emerging economy will not be situated in inner Sydney. It will be in the heart of the West. Focusing on GPOP is vitally important because if we get Western Sydney's spine right, we get the rest of it right. A thriving central city will provide the momentum, the platform and the connections necessary to realise the extraordinary promise of the Western Parkland city. What is set to occur at Badgerys Creek, the Aerotropolis and across the expanse of the city deal is unique in so many ways. In just on 6 years, not 7, we'll see passenger aircraft flying in and out of Australia's first digital airport. That's remarkable in itself, given the history. By 2026, foundational firms, among them some of the world's largest, will be established and operational in the Aerotropolis. They'll be collaborating with our region's researchers, engaging with our SME and startup ecosystems, and opening up new global supply chains. Stage 1 of the multiversity will be well into its early phase of operation. Its partner institutions at UNSW, Wollongong and Newcastle universities and ourselves, Western Sydney, will ideally have been granted necessary Commonwealth growth concessions. We need load to fill that ambition. Accordingly, we'll have made substantial progress towards one of the core objectives of the City Deal, and something I know very close to the heart of the Premier, the creation of 200,000 knowledge jobs. Equally, by 2026, the 4 universities combined would be well advanced in the application of world's best industry-embedded research. And at Werrington, neighbouring Kingswood and the Aerotropolis core, TAFE will be right alongside the multiversity partners delivering industry-engaged training. This will be a true culture of collaboration, one that eschews perceived boundaries between educational systems and is united in purpose. Again, connectivity is pivotal to make all of this a reality. The Sydney Metro Greater West Line, linking St Mary's, the large-scale TAFE University development at Werrington, and the airport is urgently needed. Without it, none of what I've described can occur. Every connection, every stop, every link must be delivered if we're to make good on the commitments signed up to under the City Deal. Our region expects it and deserves nothing less. And that brings me to my final point. As important as all of the objectives and achievements I've outlined are, one priority outweighs them all. Premier, the investments you and your government have made in health infrastructure in recent years, particularly across Western Sydney, are without peer. The results are evident in the innovative plans being brought to life in health and education precincts like Westmead, Liverpool and Campbelltown. You are to be commended for that generational commitment. But it's a generational question that needs to be addressed to complement the transformative work you've undertaken. Western Sydney University alone will need to double its current number of nursing, midwifery, medicine and allied health students simply to cope with the demand we'll see on our health services over the next 2 decades. The health workforce shortages we'll face in the near to medium term are also profound. We're vastly short in critical fields, not least of all medicine, and the lead time is long in many of these disciplines, compounding the challenge we face. The New South Wales Government are delivering in key areas. We have more beds, we have vastly improved facilities, we now urgently need the Commonwealth to open up more funded places for training. I know you, Premier, and your Health Minister understand that challenge. I know you share our concern about its implications, and I know that you'll work with us to secure the necessary response from Canberra. But that's enough about politics. I'm sure our host, Chris Brown, will cover all of these political things in the next phase of the evening. But in closing, I again commend the dialogue on the work they've undertaken in the course of the past year as champions for Western Sydney, both locally and from far-flung destinations like East London. I know people will see on their tables the East London report. It really has made a significant difference, so thank you to Chris. Events like Boomtown and, dare I say it, the university's own Catalyst West Forum are very, very important. They remind us that so much of Greater Sydney's future depends on the success of the West. But the success of the West depends on the people in this room. It's my privilege to introduce the next stage of this evening, where we'll hear a direct account of the state government's priorities for our region from the very highest level. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Gladys Berejiklian MP. And the Premier will be joined in conversation by Chris Brown of the Dialogue. So thank you so much.